Yes. Hi, everybody. Are we? Oh, we are. This is great. So welcome. Welcome to Worldview 360. I'm Erika Robinson. This is Dr. Lena Rodriguez, for those of you who don't know, but a lot of you probably do know who we are. I am an American, as you can tell from the accent, Black from the hair, and I'm in Southern California. And where are you, Lena?
I'm in Melbourne, Australia. So we couldn't be further apart. And that's why we thought about doing this show, that we come from such different perspectives. And
Right.
so we're both women who want to have a voice in this global conversation of what's going on right now. Because there's an old saying, when America sneezes, the world catches a cold. Right?
Yeah.
So everything that is happening in the US, and we both follow it intently on our channels, impacts everywhere.
Right. So I'm hosting us, but you should also subscribe, if you're not already, to Lena's channel, which is Tarot Down Under.
Lena Down Under, yeah.
Lena, oh yeah, right. And it's on YouTube as well. So this will be interesting. Today has been quite the day. We plan on doing this weekly at this time, and we plan on spending, maybe half an hour, 20 minutes to half an hour, looking at a couple of issues. Obviously, we can't cover the whole globe in the time that we're together, but a couple of issues in some depth. And then I thought at the end, maybe a little card pull on the thing that we feel is most pressing. Lenormand, which is of course my system, likes to work in groups. You don't read a single Lenormand card, so I can pull 3 cards at the end for whatever we think is important. And Lena, you want to pull, I know how tarot is, the big kid on the block, so even just a single card would probably give us some good direction. Yeah, for the week. So the first thing we thought we would talk about is the thing that everybody's talking about, which is the World Economic Summit at Davos, where certain people could not tell Greenland from Iceland.
Don't.
It was embarrassing. It was humiliating. Listen, I have nothing to do with him. God knows I didn't vote for him. But still, as an American, I apologize. He is just, well, anyway, he definitely made a wonderful case, in my opinion, for the 25th Amendment.
Yeah. Yep. And it's been on everyone's wish list for nearly a decade now. But his behavior, both domestically and internationally, is not that even of a fascist leader. Usually they can string a sentence together. You might not like what they say, but they can speak.
Right.
This is a gibbering, drooling, patently unwell individual who has been given way too much power for way too long.
He has, and why they are not 25th Amendmenting him, I don't know. I have a theory. I think he came close to really making some Republicans nervous today. That's a good thing. So there has been some rumbling around the Republican halls about 25th Amendmenting him. So that's progress. I hope that'll happen, though.
Yes, exactly. There are definitely more Republicans in the halls and the bathrooms of the Senate and the Congress who really don't like this guy, really actually don't like him, don't trust him, are scared of him, and so forth, and who are muttering about a possible impeachment should he still invade Greenland. And you're hearing this talk, but it never gets across the line because publicly they're such sheep.
I know, but there's one thing that they will respond to. And I mean, we need the world's help here. Here's what I think. If
Go for it.
If those people in Congress felt that or knew that the world was going to, or let's say the EU, take just the EU, was going to divest themselves of investments in the US, cut off trade to and from the US. If they, we call that, where I come from, it's called a wolf ticket, like a threat. It would, now, you never sell a wolf ticket unless you are prepared to back it up. So that's the thing, right? It would be disastrous for us, but I think the threat of it would be enough to make the moneyed class who are in the halls of Congress say, oh, wait a minute. That's a bridge too far. We are a country that, despite what the hype has been about, mom, apple pie, and the flag, what we worship, of course, is money. And so I think if they risk losing a trade relationship, if that wolf ticket is sold, watch how fast they conscript someone to go to him. And because I don't think they'll impeach him. I don't think they'll 25th Amendment him. I think they will do the Goldwater option, where they'll pick someone, and I don't know whom they could pick. Maybe Thune or maybe Melania. I don't know, because who does he listen? Right? To go to him and say, listen, here's the deal. It's time to go. And we know that we have to offer you something. So for X amount and no prosecution on the federal level, you need to go. Now, what he will do is he'll say, I'm the deal maker. I'm the king of the art of the deal. So that deal's not sweet enough for me. If he does that, that will make people really angry. And what will happen then is they'll say, okay, either you take what we're offering you, or you'll be impeached and convicted, because impeachment, he doesn't care, convicted, or you'll be 25th Amendmented. I think he will come up with some excuse like, I don't know, Melania's health, because I read on this and Melania shut up and I'm like, why? He won't want anybody to think that he's unwell.
Yes, it'll be someone else.
Put it on her. And, to be with the family and to have, he would take the deal if it was sweet enough. That's what I think will happen. Just like Goldwater went to Nixon, and he didn't ask Nixon if he wanted to leave. He said, listen, either you leave or you're going to be impeached and thrown out. And Nixon left.
Yeah, I think there's a sort of pincer movement going on for Trump. One is the tariffs that are such a debacle for the economy of the US.
Yeah.
So you've got that. And that's really important because it affects the hip pocket of MAGA and everyone else. Things are going up, not down.
Right.
But more importantly, because of the tariffs, manufacturing has, despite what he says, either frozen because big businesses want to know where the ground lies, and all the component parts in a modern globalized world come from somewhere else. So
that's right.
That's why you see manufacturing actually closing and collapsing. So that financial squeeze, and I don't think he's going to back down from the tariffs, are going to force the conversation you suggest. It's only money that drives them there. Now, this might be twinned by a couple of other serious economic developments, and one of which is the power of the US dollar. It's underpinned the world currency, but only for the last 80 years. Prior to that, it was pound sterling. Now, with the massive embargoes on Iran, stay with me, audience, there's a connection here, that have gone on for decades. Iran sold oil to Russia and China, avoiding US dollars and paying in yen. Now there's a sell-off underway with US bonds
That's right.
basically buying US debt and investment. And I thought China held the most, but it was Japan who have sold off a lot. And India, I just read 2 days ago, are selling US bonds like there's no tomorrow. So the weight and glamour of the US dollar underpinning the world is not a sure bet.
Oh, it's not only is it not a sure bet, that's done. I feel
It's
like that's
done
one of the things.
already.
Yeah,
And
that's
the rest
done.
of the world is moving on from the US dollar.
Yep,
And that's without an AI bubble.
yep, yep.
So it's the financial that I think will push them eventually, the
I think
heavyweight.
so. And I mean, I think people don't.
They have to get rid of them.
They have to get rid of them. And the people, I mean, yes, the people, the rank and file average person is feeling it. But who else is going to feel it? It's those people with that big money, those big investments, those big dollars that they will be bleeding, bleeding. You wanted to talk about the BRICS countries, because I think that's important as well.
Yeah, this is important to understand. So that it started off as Brazil, Russia, India, China, BRIC, and then they added South Africa.
Right.
That's another conversation. So they became the BRICS. Since then, 26 other countries have joined the BRICS. Now, the BRICS have, their whole goal originally was to just be a counterweight to the hegemony of the US dollar. They were hoping. What Trump has done in 1 year, he's fast forwarded the BRICS 20 years.
Elevated them, yes.
Right?
Yes.
He's gifted them this other place in the world economy.
Right.
So that's both financial and also in terms of ongoing trade deals.
Mm-hmm.
Because first Trump administration, I'm speaking for the rest of the world, forgive me for that arrogance, all just tried to wait it out. But a second Trump incarnation, plus the tariffs, meant everyone goes, actually, you know what? We have to renegotiate everything with everybody. And that's what the world has been doing massively quickly.
Right.
Really quickly.
And, listen, I think it's not a bad thing. I mean, as an American, will America be hurt by this? Yes, absolutely. We will be toppled from the top of the heap. On the other hand, should we not be toppled from the top of the heap? Why is there a top of the heap? Which is why I like what Mark Carney had to say, which, he talks about this thing called variable geometry, where countries band together for certain specific reasons. So you might work with these 3 countries on one topic, another bunch of countries on another topic, and it's sort of a loose ad hoc committee structure, which is provides way more opportunity for egalitarianism and prevents any kind of hegemony from happening in the first place. I think it's a great idea.
Yes, and it's not a new idea. This was in academia, it's been talked about for years as the rise of the global south, because generally speaking, the Northern Hemisphere, firstly Europe and then North America, has dominated the world. And the global south has bigger populations. And their economies are actually on the rise.
Right.
So the other term is these multipolar power hubs that should and can actually interact with each other as equals. Imagine that.
Equals. Exactly. The concept comes from James Madison and the Federalist Papers, number 10. I mean, how long ago was that? He said, wait a minute, what happens if we get some kook in the White House who's crazy as a bed bug and wants all the power? So he's the one who actually authored this concept, which I love that. I love that we can dust these old guys off and say, oh, they did think of maybe not everything, but at least they thought about this particular situation. And it's about time that we were right-sized, I think, and that other countries have a chance to experience some growth and wealth, you know?
Absolutely. And something I'd like to reassure viewers about, and we'll no doubt revisit this in other shows, but what seems terrifying, no doubt for Americans, is are we really seeing the end of the American empire and all this stuff? Well, history tells us this happens.
Yes.
And so if you look at Spain, you could go back to Rome, but look at Spain in the 1500s. They dominated the world. They had 80% of the world's gold and silver. They overextended themselves. Look at the pattern. They stopped producing. They became a consumer destination. So they bought French silk and they bought Dutch tulips and they bought, exotic things from the Middle East, so that money went out. Now, the US has gone, thanks to the conservative Lord and Savior Reagan, took America from being a manufacturing powerhouse
to a consumer country,
to a consumer society. So all the dollars flow out.
And this is what happens. Well, you know what? You're a taroist, the wheel of fortune, right? What goes up comes down. Here we are.
Yeah, it goes around. And I am of an age where I saw the end of the British Empire. Now, they controlled a quarter of the world's people. Seemed invincible. That was the world currency. Then came the 50s and 60s, and countries became independent and drew away, and the empire as an empire did collapse. But life goes on in Britain, and they're now a voice at the table for upper middle ranking countries. So be reassured, even if you're witnessing this, it isn't the absolute end. I like your term, which is right sizing.
Yes. I'm very excited actually to see how this develops, and whether the American psyche can also right size itself and see the rightness in that right sizing. That's what I'm hoping, Thank you. People are giving us little tips, and I appreciate that. Thank you. That's very kind of you. And thank you.
Yes.
So we'll see where this goes. I mean, again, today was an embarrassment, but it was a necessary puzzle piece, more evidence of the fact that he is the Mad King George. That's who he is.
So. Look, exactly. And there's always a Mad King stroke emperor at the helm when empires decline. Always it's brought on by that, not only and just by that person, but by the lackeys who hold them up.
Right. Well, I mean, that's look at Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette.
Absolutely. And who was it that said you can have a $3 meal in the US, you can have a piece of chicken and 1 flower of broccoli? This is the Marie Antoinette stuff along with the ballroom.
Wait, let's get it right. A piece of chicken, a piece of broccoli, a corn tortilla, and something else.
Would that be a lobster? I don't think so.
I don't think so. So this was definitely worth the bulk of our time tonight. We're only here for maybe half an hour, but I think I also want to, and I do it on my show all the time. I just want to remind everybody that, all roads, I know I sound like an American, but all roads lead to what? Epstein. Because this is wars are being declared, and ICE is out there in the streets, and this is why this is all jumping off now. It's all distraction. Granted, important distraction, I mean, worthy of being distracted by, but Epstein. And so I hope that, we keep the pressure on there, because apparently there are Republicans who are losing interest. What's her name? Nancy Mace, is that her name? Nancy Mace, who was one of the ones that came out and was championing the victims. She said, oh, you know what, miss me with that. She said, I've done all I can for the victims. Talk to somebody else about that. I'm on to other things. There's a lot of things going on in the world. What?
So I think we all have a duty to keep it in front of house.
In front of mind. We know that that Ro Khanna, the representative, and Representative Massey asked the judge to appoint a special master who would take charge of all the files.
Which would be the obvious legal's next step.
Yeah, but of course, why would we do anything, obvious and logical? So the judge says, yeah, no, we're not doing that. But you can sue the DOJ. I mean, okay, so the DOJ is going to be sued, but we all know the courts they're very slow. Everything takes time. But I'm telling you, there would not be so many distractions if the tentacles of Epstein's empire did not go so deep. And if it were not, in fact, Epstein's empire, but the felon's empire. I think Epstein was a mid-level manager. That's what I think. And I think that there were others who were above him. And I think that the felon was one of them, allegedly, for entertainment purposes only.
Yeah.
So
but it's
please
so important.
Pay attention to that.
Because it's also symbolic of people trafficking in all its forms.
Yes.
And in the modern world, yes, the world has a bigger population than it did have 300 years ago, but modern day slavery is bigger than it ever was.
That's right. That's right. So, I know it's wearing, it's exhausting. My daughter said she had listened to the recordings, the Sasha Riley recordings, and just felt herself just wrung out. You don't have to listen to them. There are summaries, right?
Yes.
That you can just get a little synopsis. And by the way, that's enough, because I haven't listened. I got the little synopsis. That was enough to keep me sleepless. Yeah, but just be aware. Don't think that that this is something that we're okay with. It is the nexus of why the felon is feeling so trapped, and then acting out like a trapped rat. So,
and also I think another case that's ongoing and never gets dealt with is the disappearing of Native American women in particular areas that has been going on for decades.
Decades, right. And I would be surprised if there wasn't a connection there.
It's entirely possible, but it's also, anyone who's asked would say, oh, that's a terrible thing to happen. But no one wants to look under the rug,
right,
and how close to home it gets.
Right.
Really disturbing. And just as a little example, there's a question here that Australia's coming up for 250 years of colonisation as well. Wonder what that means. Well, we'll get to that in another show too. But those nail salons that were everywhere. Always young Asian women in these nail salons with masks, but in unventilated spaces. At best, it's an abusive working environment. It's just terrible. At best. At worst, and there have been some cases that have gone nowhere, the possibility is not all, but some of those women have been trafficked. So it happens everywhere, and it's our job, I think, to not turn away.
That's right. Everybody's job, and particularly women. And I know certainly
Yeah.
In this country, white women anyway, are acculturated to sort of not talk about things that aren't nice, to be polite and to not make waves and to be sweet and all that. Okay, that's over. Pluto's in Aquarius or whatever. So, we are, I think people say, oh, I wish I hadn't lived now. I wish I lived at a time that was I don't know what time they're talking about, but a time when we weren't in such upheaval. I think there is such possibility and potential in this time now. If we choose not to.
I see it really positively in the big picture.
Right. If we start cultivating awareness instead of cultivating cluelessness, I think we could go far.
Yes, yes, yes. And I think the root of most problems in most countries, probably all, is wealth inequality.
Right.
Name a country, and there's usually radical wealth disparity. And when it comes to America, it leads the world because the uber rich is so rich, right, and the poor are so poor. So I think it's about an evening out of the playing field on the other side of this. But as I often say, revolutions aren't comfy spaces.
No, they're not. And they don't happen overnight.
We have this romanticized idea. Oh, there was the French Revolution, and then the people rose up,
Right. Well, we see this, and it's over in 2 hours.
Or apartheid was dropped in South Africa, like the fairies did it in the night, without sacrifice. And so I think we need to remind ourselves, as, let's say, collectively light workers, if not, you're not comfortable with that, just decent people, what's the small thing I can do towards making it better?
Right.
Right.
How can we're hoping that this is one of the small things that we can do. We do what we do on our channels, and we both do political card stuff. But we are hoping that just coming together and talking, maybe one of the things that will do will be to cause you to maybe, talk in your own circles about hard things.
And I think a key thing at this time is most people aren't that comfortable with change. Let's be honest, whether it's changing house, changing partners, changing anything, most people will put up with a lot before they change. We are being bombarded very quickly, and we should be grateful it's as quick as it is, even though it's hellish while it's happening, to go with the change.
Right.
Don't try and fight it and stand against, it's the rock in the river. Let the water go around you rather than try and stop the river. And so I think that's a really big personal challenge for people in how they look at this time. It is big changes.
There are, but you know what? We're all in this together, and we're going to get through this
together.
I don't know.
That's the upside.
It is the upside, and I believe we chose to come here now. We might be saying to ourselves, "What was my soul thinking?"
I didn't want that. I want a peaceful time.
But
no, we chose it. We chose it, and probably because we'd been through it before, to keep people calm and to actually, I think it helps to look at it in a big historical cycle. Otherwise, it's look what's happening in my country, in my state, in my neighborhood now. And it is part of a bigger picture.
Right. And hopefully we can keep this international perspective going. I certainly encourage people to watch Heather Cox Richardson. She is somebody who
keeps going.
Yes, but she does. She really does. And she shows you the historical context. And, there's a lot of good people doing good work. And thank you all for being here, because you could have been doing any number of things right now. And
yes. Thank you.
Chose to come here and listen to this. has been great. We want to say that, we see the feed and we appreciate that. And, our eye just will occasionally glance over there as we are able to. But if you have questions that you'd like us to address, Lena, what did we decide we were going to have people do if they want to?
Well, if you let us know in the comments, maybe after this finishes, I'll go back during the week and choose some questions. So we can't promise that we'll get to every question, but we want to include you guys in this.
Right, which is why we decided to make it alive, because there's something energetic about the fact that we're all over the world, and yet all of us right now are right here in this space, in this moment. That's beautiful, Yes. I'm going to pull 3 cards, and the question is, what do we need to know for the coming week? Just something simple. What do we need to know?
For people for the coming week, and I'll pull 1 card.
So Lenormand is a system that needs, you never pull just 1 card. So, but tarot, of course, you totally can. So.
But also standing with Minnesota. Bless Minnesota.
Absolutely. Well, I was going to bring that up because the cards kind of speak to that. So we have Clover, and we know that Clover is one of the happiness cards, I call it, in the Lenormand. But it's quick. It's ephemeral. So as you see chances and opportunities to help in these moments, do it. So we know that Minnesota, for example, is having a 1-day, it's on Friday, if you're in the US, a 1-day general strike where people aren't going to work, they're not going to school, they're not going to shop, etc. If you want to help them, it's not about you not going to work. Send them money. There are all kinds of organizations that you can find online. They could use the money. But things are moving fast. This is another thing that Clover means. It's fast. And because it's so fast, it can make us anxious. These are mice. Mice are the card for anxiety, worry, stress. But here and in other spaces, we have community. This is the garden, and it's the card for community. So remember, you're not alone in this. However fast things are moving, however hard your heart is pounding, you have found community here on both our channels and amongst each other here. So that's a good thing.
Okay. And I am thrilled to say I pulled the Star card, Hope and Inspiration. I mean, it's the most beautiful card in the deck.
It's gorgeous.
And for me, it's always been my Best of America card, or in this case, what the American dream was compared with the lived nightmare. This is the best of. So don't let them rob you of your hope.
Right. This is an opportunity for us to become that sort of, what do we say, more perfect union.
Exactly. And there's also that saying, the way to counteract despair, because people are traumatized through all this, is action. Right. Because if you join with like-minded people, it actually gives you energy and it reinforces your hope. And then you have more energy to hold up one other person or one other family. And that's so important.
So the cards were with us tonight, as always, of course, and that's good. And thank you all for being here. And we will be here every week on Wednesday, or in your case, Lena, Thursday. 6 p.m.
And so leave questions in the comments and we'll do our best. We'll pick at least 2 or 3. We'll try.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I'm going to, try to end this. Let's see if it ends. I don't know.
Ciao.
Okay, I think we did it. I think. Wait.
Oh, we're still there. Still waving.
Wait.